You can tell it quickly less because it's so much more quick. And the Indians said they want to use something. Can you see?
I can see fine.
Yeah, but sometimes it's light. Isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's not shining.
And I think we start off with Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 4.
Like Nashta first.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naramadeva. Naraicha. Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devin Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jaya Udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, unto Narayana, Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasadeva, the author. And then we go to 17.
You want to skip that? You want to just go to 18? It's everybody knows it. You know it. You want to do 17?
Ooh. We can do that.
Because you know how to say Nashta first.
Nashta Preyasu Rabhadresu.
Nashta Preyasu Rabhadresu.
Nityam Bhagavase Bhaya.
Nityam Bhagavate Bhaya.
Bhagavati Utmahatma Sloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhakti Bhavatanaistaki.
Bhakti Bhavatanaistaki.
By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. And I would like to read the happy verse.
The happy verse?
Yeah, the next one. And it goes, as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy.
Wow.
And the next one gets even better, may I?
Yeah, go on.
This is the liberation verse. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. And we won't go to the next verse today, but maybe later. No. It gets better. Today's verse
Is 11.
what? That's 1:18:11. Rishya
Vishya
Uchahu
Uchuhu
Rishya Uchahu
Vishya Uchuhu
Sutta
Sutta
Diva
Jiva
Samma
Samaha
Shamya
Somya
Somya.
Somya
Somya
Sutta Deva Sama Somya
Sutta Jiva Sama Somya
Shashvatir
Sarasvatir
Vishadam
Vishadam
Yasha Haya
Yashaha
Shishvatir Vishvasadam Yashaha
Sarasvatir Vishadam Yashaha
Yas
Yas
Tvam
Tvam
Samsas Sayatsi
Samsasi
Krishna-ashraya
Krishna-ashraya
Yas
Yes.
Yes.
Tvam, I'll do it again.
Okay.
Tvam
Tvam
Samsasi
Samsasi
Krishna-ashraya
Krishna-ashraya
Madhyanam
Madhyanam
Amritam
Amritam
Hi
Hi
Hai Nahai
Naha.
Inaha.
Naha
Naha.
Is it an H or an N?
Naha
It's N-A.
It's a dot. N-A-H, never a dot.
Spell
Naha
spell it. Did I write it wrongly?
N-A-H with a dot under the H.
So I did it right, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Welcome.
Well, what's the word in front of it?
He.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nayam Amritam
Amritam
Hi
Hi
Naha
Naha
Madhyanam Amriti Hi Naha
Madhyanam Amritam Hi Naha
Rakshaya
Rishaya.
Rish-
Oh, sorry.
Rishaya Ujahu
Vishaya Ujahu
Sutta Jiva Samasayamaya
Sutta Jiva Sama Samya
Sasvatir Visadam Yashaha
Sashvatir Vishitam Yashaha
Yastvam Sam Sasi Krishnaya
Yastvam Samsasi Krishna-ashraya
Madhyanam Amritam Hi Naha.
Madhyanam Amritam Hi Naha.
Let's call that 3. Would you repeat?
Sure. You know, in the future, if you're uncomfortable, we always used to, if someone was, like I always had a pundit, someone who read my verse.
That would be fine. I see Prabhupada do that too.
Yeah, Prabhupada always did it. So that way, it makes you, more comfortable.
Thank you.
But otherwise, she did very well. Risha Ucha
Rishaya Uchuhu.
Sutta Jiva Sama Samya
Sutta Jiva Sama Somya.
Sashvatir Vishidam Yashaha
Sashvatir Visidam Yashaha.
Yastvam Samsashi Krishna-ashraya
Yastam Samsasi Krishnasya.
Madhyanam Amritam Hi Naha
Madhyanam Amritam Hinaha. Rishaya Uchuhu. Sutta Jiva Sama Somya. Sasvatir Vishadam Yasaha.
Sashvatir Vishidam Yashaha
Yastam Samsasi Krishnasya.
Yastvam Samsashi Krishna-ashraya
Madhyanam Amritam Hinaha.
Madhyanam Amritam Hi Naha
Rishaya Uchuhu. Sutta Jiva Sama Somya.
Vishadam Yasa
Shashvatir Vishadam Yasam
Yasvam Samsa Krishna-ashraya
Yasvam Samsasi Krishna-ashraya
Marjanam Amritam Hina
Marjanam Amritam Hina
Visaya Uchu
Ishaya Uchuhu
Sutta Jiva Samasamya
Sutta Jiva Samasomya
Asvatir Visadam Yasa
Shaswatir Vishadam Yasaha
Yaswam Samsasi Krishna-ashraya
Yastam Samsasi Krishnasya
Matranam Amritam Hina
Matyanam Amritam Hina
Rishaya Uchuhu
Ishaya Uchuhu
Sutta Jiva Samasomya
Sutta Jiva Samasomya
Shashvatir Vishadam Yashaha
Shaswatir Vishadam Yasaha
Yastvam Sham Sasi Krishnasya
Yasvam Samsasi Krishna-ashraya
Martyanam Amritam Hinaha
Marjanam Amritam Hina.
Anyone else? Word for word? Would you do the word for word?
You want me to do that? Rishaya Uchuhu
Ishaya Uchuhu
The good sages said
The good sages said
Sutta
Sutta
O Sutta Goswami
O Sutta Goswami
Jiva
Jiva,
Jiva
wish you life for
we wish you life for
Samaha
Samaha,
many years
many years.
Somya
Somya,
grave
great.
Shashvatihi
Saraswati,
eternal
eternal.
Vishadam
Vishadam,
particularly Yashaha
Yasha,
in fame
in fame.
Yaktwam
Yatam,
because you
you,
Shamsasi
Samsasi,
speaking nicely
speaking nicely.
Krishnasya
Krishna-ashraya
of Lord Shri Krishna
Of Lord Sri Krishna,
Martyanam
Martyanam,
of those who die
of those who die.
Amritam
Amritam,
eternity of life
Eternity of life.
he
he,
certainly
certainly.
Naha
Naha,
our
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The good sages said, O grave Sutta Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us. Oh, you can let's do that. Repeat, right?
yeah
The good sages said,
The good sages said,
O grave Sutta Goswami,
O great Sutta Goswami,
may you live many years
May you live many years
and have eternal fame.
and have eternal fame.
For you are speaking very nicely
For you are speaking very nicely
about the activities of Lord Krishna,
about the activities of Lord Krishna,
the personality of
the
Godhead.
personality of Godhead.
This is just like nectar
This is just like nectar
for mortal beings like us.
for mortal beings like us.
Purport. When we hear about the transcendental qualities and activities of the personality of Godhead, we may always remember what has been spoken by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 4:9. He acts even when he acts,
his
his acts, even when he acts in human society, are all transcendental, for they are all accentuated by the spiritual energy of the Lord, which is distinguished from his material energy. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, such acts are called devyam. This means that he does not act or take his birth like an ordinary living being under the custody of material energy, nor is his body material or changeable like that of ordinary living beings. And one who understands this fact, either from the Lord or from authorized sources, is not reborn after leaving the present material body. Such an enlightened soul is admitted into the spiritual realm of the Lord and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, the more we hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, as they are stated in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we can know about his transcendental nature and thus make definite progress on the path back to Godhead.
Jai.
Om Gana Tamram Dasya Gananjana Chalakaya Chakshor Nimlitam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sort of in looking at this verse and reading again and again the verse, it seems like they're praising Sutta Goswami because he spoke, he said nice words. And I think we've all experienced what it's like to be in the company of those who speak nice words. And we probably all experienced what it's like to be in the company of those who speak unnice words or unkind words. And what I saw as a theme in this particular verse was about hearing. And then I studied it further, then I saw that it was about speaking, and that is being in the company of those who speak. Krishna-kata. And so it's association in hearing. Of course, the 9 processes of devotional service. Hearing is the first, then chanting, remembering Vishnu, serving the lotus feet, worshiping, offering prayers, becoming the servant and becoming the friend, and then offering all to him. And the first one, Shravanam, Prabhupada speaks about quite a bit. And I have a special quote that I'm going to close with about Prabhupada speaking. This is really, really incredible what he said about this Shravanam. But as we read the Bhagavad Gita 4:9, which was the verse that was referenced in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will see a little bit deeper. Would you read the Sanskrit?
Oh, okay. Fortunately, I can just
Janma
go straight.
Kama Chame.
So my comment to make if you
Oh,
want
you
to
know.
You
Yeah,
know,
I can't recite, so.
you want me that I don't remember the rest. So.
Oh, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatpataha tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sorjuna.
one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but obtains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And if you go to 4:6, that was 4:9.
Can you just read it?
Please.
Ajo pisan avyatma avyat. Oh, see, I haven't really tried to memorize this, and you can tell the difference. Ajo pisan avyayatma uttanam ishvaro pisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya.
By my eternal energy. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. In 9:16,
I can't find it that quick. I have to go several steps. Aham Praturaham Yagyat Vadhanam Aham Aushadam Mantroham Aham Evajam Aham Agnir Aham Hutam.
And this says, but it is I who am the ritual, the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant, and I am the butter and the fire and the offering. And the next page,
17.
it talks about this subject matter, which helps us purify our constitutional position, is especially Krishna. And so to be in the next verse, you can read it if you like. Sure.
Pitaham asya jagato matatata pitamaha.
In Prabhupada's report.
Omkara samayajare vacha.
Thank you. And so the subject matter is about Krishna. And so our subject matter should be about Krishna.
You going to read that English?
I can do that.
Can't just try to do the thing without reading English.
That I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable om. I'm also the rig, the sama, and the Yajurveda. So the subject matter is the object of knowledge. So if we speak, we should speak about Krishna. Think about Krishna. And focus on Krishna. What's interesting is, and I read this in the, my computer listed it as the TLK, Teachings of Lord Kapila. And the verse is chapter 11, verse 24. And this is Kapila talking to his mother. And he tells her, "O mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment." And I'll skip down to the third paragraph. Because a devotee is free from all contaminated material association, he is not affected by the miseries of material existence. Even though he appears to be in the material world, which he is, how is it possible? Like, this is about the cat. You remember the story about the cat in the carrying the kitten?
Yeah.
Right? And it says, the cat carries her kitten in her mouth, and when she kills a rat, she also carries the booty of the rat in her mouth. Thus, both are carried in the mouth of the cat, but they are in different conditions. The kitten feels comfort in the mouth of the mother, whereas when the rat is carried in the mouth of the rat feels the blows of death. Similarly, those who are sadhus, are devotees, engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, do not feel the contamination of material miseries, whereas those who are not devotees of Krishna consciousness actually feel the miseries of material existence. One should therefore give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of those engaged in Krishna consciousness. By such association, one will be benefited by spiritual advancement, by their words and instructions. One who is able to cut off his attachments to material existence. In this Kali Yuga, the present age, the dangerous modes of Rajagun and Tamagun, passion and ignorance, are especially prominent, particularly everyone in this age practically everyone in this age is contaminated by lusty desire, greed, and ignorance. It is said in the Shastras that in this age of Kali, Sattvagun which is the mode of goodness, is particularly non-existent. And it goes on to further say that if we really want to get to the state of Krishna consciousness, we have to seek out the sadhus that are talking about Krishna, and we replace the thoughts, not reject the thoughts. Prabhupada says further on that the Buddhists say that you should just cut off that thought, but this is impossible. And it's further down. This is really well presented. He says the Buddhists say the Buddhists basically say that you should stop no thought, no high, no low, no hot, no cold, nothing. But in Krishna consciousness, if we want to get that taste of that desire to eat meat out of our life, we replace it with nice prasadam. And I think Prabhupada said, is it called rasagulas? Rasagulas. And nice preparations. And he actually gets, instead of thinking, unless I have a drink, I will go mad. One should think, unless I associate with a sadhu, I will go mad. And I thought that's what Prabhupada said. Instead of saying I have this hankering, I need a drink. Instead of saying I need a drink, I need to associate with a sadhu. I'm going to read that again. Instead of thinking, quote, unless I have a drink, I will go mad. One should think, unless I associate with a sadhu, I will go mad. When we can think in this way, we will become liberated. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stated that he wants every village in the entire world to be a center of Krishna consciousness so that people can take advantage of sadhus and in turn become sadhus. So you have to hear from a sadhu to become a sadhu. And Prabhupada goes on talking about we simply have to voluntarily undergo some penance in the beginning. Now skip down. It may be a little painful in the beginning to refrain from illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, but one has to be tolerant. To be cured of a disease, they may have to agree to undergo some surgical operation. Although the operation may be very painful, we have to tolerate it. And there's a word that Prabhupada in it uses, it's called Titi Shavaha. And it's Titikshavaha. Titikshava. And this is the word he says intolerant. At the same time, we have to be, and this one is Karunikaih, and that's Karunikaha, and it has a dot under the H. Karunikaha. And that is, we have to take compassion upon fallen souls. So for us to be tolerant and also to be compassionate. So in this hearing, which Prabhupada talked about the Shravanam, we hear from our gurus, we hear from the sadhus, the other devotees, and we hear from the shastras, which are the scriptures. Now once we hear, we have to act. And I remember a story by Langa Ganesh Prabhu, and he told the story about how his duty was to be one of the guards for the devotees and Prabhupada. And he was doing his guarding duty. He sort of came in close to listen to Prabhupada for a few minutes, and then he stepped back to the perimeter to be on guard for safety issues, to make sure the devotees were safe. And Prabhupada, later on, Langa Ganesh was sitting on the bench, and he heard these steps, and it was Prabhupada that had come out of the house and sat next to him and asked him, "So, why did you leave the lecture?" And he said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I was going back to my duty of being on guard." And Prabhupada said something, and this has to do with hearing. He said, "This is hearing." And I thought, this is hearing. And that means that Langa Ganesh really knew, he heard what he should do, and he did what he should do. So, and Prabhupada said that if you really hear, you will do. So hearing is not just, that's a snap. That's a snap. You actually hear the truth, and then you act on the truth. And if you don't act on the truth, hey, there's a hole there, and you go and step in it. You heard, but you didn't hear. And so there's a difference between this active hearing where you actually do what truth says, you act on the truth. Application, I guess, is that a good word?
Yeah.
So you do application. And I remember there was a devotee years ago, he said, no application, no class. You know, because it's nice to talk about tattva and truth, but if there's no application, it was just the niceties of it. But your application could be just hearing too. And so you get blessed from just hearing.
You're thinking the one, I think you didn't say like that.
He didn't say that way.
Not like there's no class, but just he was looking for the application, but he didn't say no class without it. He didn't say that.
Right. He didn't say, well, that's what he kind of imparted to me. We have to get some application. And so even if it's the transcendental sound vibrations of Krishna, we have to surrender ourselves in saying this is true. And so he just said, focus on application too. Someone said the secret of all issues in life is just chanting Hare Krishna. But Prabhupada said we have to hear Hare Krishna too, and not just chant. If you chant, we have to be careful that we don't slide a little bit and go to what is called Kamakanda.
Right.
Like it's a magic incantation. Because the next step of slide will go from the mode of Krishna goodness down to the mode of what we call demons. And I learned this past week by listening to chapter 17 in the Bhagavatam again and again and again. What we do when we work on the altar, I play the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is 17th chapter, not Bhagavatam. And I play it again and again and again. And sometimes we listen to the same chapter 10 times in a row. And each time you hear more. And you can see more just listening again and again. And I think it was the 17th chapter that said that those in the mode of passion worship the demons. I was thinking, demons? Shouldn't that be in the next level down? No, the next level down, the mode of ignorance is worshiping ghosts and spirits. But we can actually go in this slippery slide from using the mantra as a magical incantation down to worshiping demigods, basically, are in that second level of passion. And then you'll slide down even further. Well, Krishna said that's fine too, because your worship goes to me ultimately anyway, but the next level down could actually be down to
They worship me in the wrong way.
the worship, right? So we must hear the mantra too, and be submissive. And this is what Prabhupada said, and I do not know, what time is it?
10 after or something.
Really? That's surprising. Oh, no comment. The little quote that Prabhupada gave is this: You'll understand God so nicely that although God is unconquerable, you'll conquer Him. You'll conquer Him by this simple process. So, therefore, Shravanam, hearing, is so important. So, in the devotional service, the first step is hearing. Hearing submissively from the authoritative source, and just to assimilate it and grasp it with our body, mind, and intelligence. In this way, we shall be able to conquer the unconquerable. And it's taken from Bhagavad Gita 9:15. You know what? I had a misquote on that. It was 9:16 I had you read.
Yeah, I thought that
It
was...
should have been 9:15. Can we read that right quick? Because that was important. And I thought, wow, that sounds familiar, but it's off. 9:15. Bhagavad Gita 9:15.
Okay, 15. Yana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatena pritapena ahuda vishvatomukam.
Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge, worship of the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many ways and in the universal form.
Diverse in many, not many ways.
Diverse in many,
Yeah.
and in the universal form.
You gonna explain what we talked about?
Right. Basically, Prabhupada says in the purport, but there are those, I'll read it. This verse is a summary of the previous verse. The Lord verses rather. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma, that means great soul. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, and the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower. These are divided into three. Number one, he who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Two, I'll read it again. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Number two, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And number three is he who accepts the universal form, the Visvarup of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. And basically, it goes on to explain, out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monas, basically they're my bodies, right?
Yeah.
Are most prominent. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord. And in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, where they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual souls. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, then, personalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. And they consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity of worship, that the universe is also a form of the Lord. And those are the nature worshipers who worship trees, and they want to, I think they say, my church is the forest. And they want to go out and just worship the trees, and it's wonderful. And what's interesting is that Krishna accepts those who even worship demigods, because they worship him. They're just doing it incorrectly. And it comes to him eventually anyway. But he will, if they want to worship demigods, Krishna's a gentleman, and he'll make it available. And he'll help them worship the demigods. So, in closing, is not only hearing, but actually being submissive in this hearing and using our intelligence. And I think we have to, it's a good thing that we are in association with sadhus, because as it said in the verse for today, they were congratulating, and they were actually saying, Sutta Goswami, we just really love the way you talk, and we like being around you. And it was what he was saying about the glories of Krishna. And so we can find sadhus, and I think Prabhupada used the word sadhu sangha, which means in the association of sadhus that we should try to stay in. So seek that. Instead of, I'll go mad if I don't get a drink, or whatever it is, because everybody's not drinkers. We'll go mad if we don't have association with devotees. Thank you very much. Any questions?
There was one thing, there was some fuzziness about the demigod worship,
Mm-hmm.
because this list here is lower than the 4 types who begin to render devotional service.
Right.
These are lower. So one of them is the Mayavadis, and one, diverse in many, means that God is there's many gods, the demigods like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be worshiping Krishna indirectly, but they don't know it, and they don't get the benefit of worshiping Krishna. So it's not Krishna accepts. He accepts it, but not as worship to him.
Right.
He says they worship me also, but in a wrong way. So they just get temporary benefits. They really don't do themselves any good.
And it actually uses that word in that particular chapter in the wrong way.
It says that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's not advisable to follow that path.
No.
Because and the Mayavadis, of course, we know about that. Question?
So you were earlier with talking about you hearing, but you're not really, you're not really hearing. You were talking about like inattentive, and there's several examples. Like, I think it's in the Nectar of Instruction, or maybe it's in the introduction of. I think it's in the instruction of Nectar of Instruction. But anyway, the example is that someone who's intelligent hears something once. If you touch the fire, you'll burn. And they hear that, they accept the authority, and they don't touch the fire. The second, who's less intelligent, he'll hear it, but then he'll go ahead and touch it anyway, and then he'll get burned, and then he'll learn. Okay, so that's a little less intelligent, but he won't do it again. He's got burned once. The next level is, I heard it, and then I touched it, I got burned, and then I go and do it again. And then I do it again. And I keep on doing it. So there's different degrees. And also, in terms of hearing, Prabhupada said that his spiritual master said about him, about our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. There's two Srila Prabhupads here, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and then so when Prabhupada would come to listen to Bhaktisiddhanta speak, he would stay and he would listen. Not just he would hear. His listening is hearing. And others would come and go, but he would stay and listen. And Bhaktisiddhanta marked that this man, this disciple, he comes, he listens, he hears, which means that he'll be able to speak nicely. You can't speak unless you've heard. And I had an experience once, which I thought was I had just gotten second initiation from Prabhupada. He was on his way to the airport, and he just basically said, Bhagavatam said, this devote, Gokula Ranjan is ready for second initiation. Prabhupada said, oh sure, that's okay. Yeah, you can have the fire sacrifice, you're a Brahman. And then someone gave me the mantra, I can't remember, it was Prabhupada, I can't remember exactly. But anyway, so, because he was packing, getting ready to go. So I'm now a Brahmin, and without the fire yoga, so I'm really like paying attention, focusing. And we went to the airport. It was LaGuardia because it was a domestic flight. It was going to LA, and it was late, so we were sitting in the waiting area, and everyone's around him, and I was right at his feet. And it was actually just a side note. There was this little baby, like a toddler, kept like playing. Prabhupada was going like this and playing like that, and the toddler would touch his toes. We were all so jealous. We were so and he'd go like that, and he'd pose, and go like that, and reach out, and he'd go like that, and then he'd pull back, and then the toddler would, and so finally he gave him the feet, and so that was really sweet. And then we had a lot of problems that time. Normally we could just go in there and, like as they said, lock it down. We would just take over the airport, and there was a lot of devotees. It was Brooklyn, so there was a lot of devotees, and it was Prabhupada, so other devotees from other places. So we were marching through the concourses, there was a kirtan, and the authorities kept coming and saying, please, you have to keep it quiet, you have to keep it quiet. So then they would stop the kirtan. As soon as the authorities walked away, they started another kirtan. And this went on for like 3-4 times throughout the whole walk. And they kept coming over, and then, okay. And then someone else would, so then we're sitting there and watching this thing with the baby, and then one devotee said, Prabhupada, can I just chant? He said, Prabhupada said, okay, but soft. So he started singing, I think he was singing Jai Radha Madhava, I can't remember. But whatever it was something that Prabhupada would sing, and he had like done, he could do it almost like just exactly like listening to Prabhupada. Every little intonation. And so Prabhupada's, and we're all chanting, and every now and then Prabhupada would look over with his eyes like that, and like this. And so then, now this devotee though, did get proud of his chanting, and sometimes Prabhupada would, rebuke, chastise him. But this particular time, he was like that. And so then, when he finished chanting, the thing that caught, because I'm really paying attention and focusing, and Prabhupada says, you listen very nicely, you hear very well. And I was thinking, wow, what is that? And then I remembered what he had said about, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said about him, that if you hear, you can chant or speak. In this case, it was chanting. So Prabhupada didn't say, oh, you chant very nicely. He said, you listen very well. Because he had done it in a way that was, in the mood, the way Prabhupada did it. So that shows you the importance of hearing. That first we see with hearing through the ears. We don't see with our eyes. We see Krishna first through our ears. And I've read this thing recently where it says that chanting sometimes, it's like just, with some people, it's like a lip something. You're just moving your lips. like a lip service. So, but there's a slightly different way of saying that. And it was like that in that pastime with Bhakti Vinod, where he stayed at a temple one night, an abandoned temple, and the villagers said, "No, that's a ghost there." And he said, "Yes, he's a Brahma Rakshasa ghost. He was the Brahmin of that temple in his previous life, but he chanted offensively." Because they said he always chanted, and he said, "Yes, but he was chanting inattentively. He was just moving his mouth. He wasn't listening. It was offensive to devotees, other devotees, and or other living entities. So it became a Brahma Rakshasa, and it was impossible to stay there at night, and the bricks would fly around the building, throw things. It was very dangerous. Brahma Rakshasa is the most powerful ghost. And then they said, "Well, how did you stay there?" He said, "Well, I chanted the Hare Krishna mantra," and then he stopped. And they said, "Can he be ever freed of this? Can he be liberated?" And Bhakti Vinod said, "If a pure-hearted devotee chants or the mantra or verse or a chapter of the Bhagavatam or Gita, there's hope." And they noticed after Bhakti Vinod left that the ghost had gone away. So they realized Bhakti Vinod is that kind of person. So you can chant, but if you're not hearing or you're being offensive, and I personally, and I don't want to be offensive, but you see right now we're sitting here listening. There's no other sound. But when you were speaking, there was lots of other sounds in this room. There wasn't the right atmosphere for hearing. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just noting. That there's an atmosphere for hearing. And sometimes we don't have that atmosphere in this room.
Sometimes people get a little distracted about stuff like that.
I mean, well, I kept walking. You gonna back me up on this? Okay. Thank you. I'm not trying to create any issue, but we're talking about hearing. So we should have the right respect for the speaker, and we should listen.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Did I just take my whole for myself? Or what?
For me, I also like to add that from hearing, reading is also hearing because it's captured sound.
Right.
So it may go in through your eyes, but in your head it turns into a sound when you read.
Well, Prabhu said you should read out loud.
Huh?
Prabhu said reading means like out loud. I mean, you
sound vibration.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's what I've always. I do read, but I like to read out loud, at least softly, if I'm with some other people. But you can read mentally. But
Yeah, I think that happens mentally. I hear it when I'm reading it.
well, it depends on the individual. I'm not. There's no hard and fast rules. But that's true. He said it's not reading; it's studying. I just heard it was a 4-minute little snip on Vani Media. There's like this 9-minute, 10-minute. It was a 4-minute one. And it was in Australia, and he said, "I am doing all this work, and you're not taking advantage. I'm writing all these books, and you're not taking advantage because you're not reading." And the proof was apparently somebody was saying that he said, "You're here in Australia. You want to go to Japan, then you want to go to India, then you want to come back to Japan, then you want to come back here, here and there. You're not. If you're reading my books, you'll be satisfied wherever you are and serve there, not all jumping around here, there, everywhere else." That's what in that particular case he was saying. You're not. I'm working so hard to give you these books, but you're not reading. That's what he was saying. And this was in 1972. And at that point he was really stressing, because we were also simultaneously really starting to distribute books, but there was a famous quotes where he said, you try to sell the book and the person say, "How do you say that word?" And I don't know how to say the word. So, Prabhu was saying, boil the milk, but, read the books. I want you to distribute them, but I want you to read them, I want you to study them. And that's really, that's the takeaway from this whole thing. And so I just wanted to commend you for, it's difficult to give a Bhagavatam class, and it's very daunting, and so I commend you for your effort. And if there's anything like that makes it easier for you, like you don't have to do it the way we do it now, because in the past, when Prabhupada was on the planet, Prabhupada had someone chant Sanskrit. So if you feel more relaxed to have Madhava Priya do the Sanskrit part of the class, then that's not a problem. Whatever makes it more comfortable for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, I appreciate you devotees for listening. And it is humbling to present this information, and especially since I'm still learning and I'm almost like a reporter. As I come across something, I can share it, but I don't know the whole story. I'm just learning the whole story about Parikshit going on the hunt and getting thirsty and put in a snake. I thought that was kind of childish, but it kind of different. He put the snake around the Rishi's neck, and then the Rishi's son cursed him, and now we have the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories like that where I think. I'm sorry, you didn't finish.
And I was thinking, like, why didn't he negotiate?
Yeah.
And say, I didn't know, I didn't mean it. He just accepted it. And what's interesting is, I was listening to Prabhu from Chowpatty. I think he's Chowpatty Temple. And he was saying, do not try to fix your problems. Let Krishna fix them. Because when we try to fix our problems, we actually go from the frying pan to the fire. We usually mess it up even more. And so do not try to fix your problems. And in Chowpatty, they had they ran into so many people who wanted prasadam because there's no kickback of prasadam. It's nice food. Nice. But chanting Hare Krishna is something. I don't want to chant Hare Krishna. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, things get taken away. So, no. And he told it in such a way, it was really entertaining but true. It was really tough. But he was saying that, he said, can you imagine a spiritual path that every step toward home is a disaster? Every step is a disaster. And those things that are taken away, they're taken away for reasons. We learn lessons, so there's some pleasure in it too. The Bodhi Association, but every step is a disaster. He said, chant Hare Krishna. No, I don't want to chant. Because they didn't want things to be taken away. But they had to come to some understanding that the sweetness and nectar of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Thank you very much.
They're going to be taken away anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.